So, Journos are bad people and deserve worse than we can even comprehend. And I have come to give people the good news of I don't care how much you hate the Journos, it's not enough. And I shall prove it. We'll start off just by promoting the Lotus Eaters merch. That's a thing. There's a merch store. Go and check it out. This is the posters you can go and get with quotes on how to live your life better, I suppose. Look, how pretty.
So when you bring a pretty girl home and she sees that hanging above your bed, you'll absolutely get laid.
Yes, so do go and try it out. There are various sizes and other posters.
You should tell her that it is right. Therefore, Marcus Aurelius says you can do it.
Wait, honey, where are you going?
Yeah.
But anyway, do go check it out. Otherwise, you can also subscribe. There is a 33% off code for the birthday period. It's our 3-year anniversary. So if you type in birthday at checkout, you can get 33% off subscriptions at lotuseaters.com. Otherwise,
also, if you're a subscriber, when you subscribe, you might get a discount code for the merch.
That's true. I think it's 12.5%.
It is a whole 12.5%.
Go and check that out.
Merry Christmas.
Hi folks, we've rolled out a new feature on the website, which is the ability to pay for an individual piece of content. So usually it's £5 a month every month to subscribe to all of the content on the website. But I appreciate there are going to be people who simply don't want to do that. They would be interested instead in purchasing a single piece of content for a lower amount, and they've got a particular niche that they're interested in watching. And so they don't want every single piece of content. They just want this one thing. So we've introduced this function where you can just simply purchase the one thing for £1.89, which I think is about $2.30 at the current exchange rates. And then that's just yours forever. So there's no sort of commitment there. There's no rolling subscription. It's just that one thing. So that's an option now that's on the website. It's completely live. It's completely available. And please go and enjoy it. And we'll see you all very soon.
Anyway, so there's this meme that's obviously very good. Aaron.
Good on, Aaron.
Yeah, is correct. Don't make me tap the sign. You don't hate journalists enough. You think you do, but you don't. And well, it's true. And he's responding in this specific instance to this piece of crap from The Nation. Should America keep celebrating Thanksgiving? This happens every year. And of course, it's a yes-no article where it's like someone who's like, well, obviously, it's a period in which, is important to our history and it gives us a nice opportunity to check out the Indians and their culture. We don't care about it the rest of the year. So isn't that neat? And then there's like the no crazy person who just turns up and starts screeching about decolonization.
We spoke to Elizabeth Warren and she said...
Yeah. She says here that we need to give thanks to the native nations who created the world that we inherit today.
Well, they didn't. Hang on a minute. No, they didn't. They didn't create the world. They just sort of occupied it and lived in it. And then they also didn't build the country.
The Indians.
Yeah.
They're the real Anglo-Saxons that built America. I mean, I don't know what to do with that. It's just painful. She goes on to argue that the reason that they built the world we currently live in is not because they invented any of the things or built any of it.
Yeah.
It's instead because all of the food was here, such as tomatoes, squash, beans, and corn.
Are they really going with the cuisine argument for both the indigenous and the diversity now?
Llamas, they're from the New World. Therefore, old world people, what did you make? Nothing. It's not impressive to say.
Watches Emperor's New Groove once.
Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, you can go and look up. She's arguing, oh, they selectively bred and genetically modified the crops. And it's like, no, they didn't. They selectively bred them. They couldn't genetically modify them. The hell are you talking about, woman? I mean, have you seen the kind
of American Monsanto over here?
Yeah. Well, you can go and look it up yourself. I'm sure everyone's seen it, where it's like corn at the moment the Europeans discovered America, and it's these tiny kernels versus the glorious modern American cob of corn, which is making me hungry just thinking about it. But anyway, she ends it off with some crap where she argues, let's tell a different story by dropping the lie of Thanksgiving and begin truthsgiving, which is where she drops truth bombs, such as the Indians built America.
Can you scroll up slightly just to that paragraph there? To this day, the doctrine of discovery, the foundation of federal law permitting settlers to take possession of the land they discovered, imposes a set of Christian-based, quote-unquote, laws and institutional thinking that confines Indian existence, quote-unquote, legally, politically, and economically. This is something that Sylvia Winters did with unsettling the coloniality being true freedom. She's one of those nutcase foundational critical race theorists. And her theory is basically, we didn't have a definition of human beings until the American Enlightenment founding fathers turned up and wrote the Constitution to explicitly exclude black people. And that's the only reason they wrote the Constitution. So actually, like, having any definition of human being excludes anyone who isn't white. Therefore, all laws are oppressive. Therefore, get rid of them. This is a proper return to noble savage kind of madness here. And they're just applying it to every ethnic group now.
And that is pretty typical of American media.
Yeah.
Like every couple of months. I mean, in this case, every Thanksgiving we get this kind of crap. But that's not the worst example. That's not the thing I really want to talk about today. I could sit there and talk about this. I'm never going to talk about this. BBC Pigeon, doing BBC Pigeon things. People who don't know what BBC Pigeon is, it's a BBC news outlet that's made for West Africa. And they decided that West Africans can't speak English. They speak Pigeon English.
Is this the global? This is the global list for the 100 women, right? So
This is
this
100
is
women.
this is the source of the meme last year where Billie Eilish was on it, and I got chewed out. So I wonder if she's on it again.
Who they on the list this year? The BBC done reveal this a list for 100 inspiring and influential women around the world. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing at BBC Pigeon because it literally is just you spell a few words wrong.
Right. So
Please, you have to continue reading.
I would be happier with paying a license fee if they narrated these articles. Could you imagine if there was an audio track? John Crow, get on it.
Yeah.
People were done among them than attorney and former US First Lady Michelle Obama. Like, that's English. That's just English.
Yep.
Human rights lawyer Amal Clooney, again, some more English. Balloon d'Or winning football. Okay, this is getting back to gibberish. And it goes on. This year, extreme heat, wildfires, floods, and other natural disasters. Just write another. You could just write the word another. I think people in West Africa have got Duolingo. I think they could learn English.
They've got a Google Translate plugin.
Yeah, there isn't one for Pigeon. For some reason, racist Google Translate doesn't recognize Pigeon as a legitimate language.
But do they do this for people that are living in the UK reading the BBC, or is it for people living abroad who only sort of read English?
I think it's for us to laugh at. So,
Okay.
so I mean, BBC Pigeon. Sorry, getting back to what they're trying to actually promote here, which is 100 most important and influential women. I did notice that there's no business leader tab. There's climate pioneers.
Politics and advocacy. Well, that is business at this point.
Science is like the only thing here that I
Entertainment and sport. Which propagandists have they got in that category?
Yeah, I still counted to promote the status of female. Oh God, it's
No, you have to, please. I think that everyone wants you to keep reading it out.
I don't want to keep reading it though.
John, can you control F in another tab to see Billie Eilish is on this one as well?
Oh, you want to control F that? I mean, there we are. There's a woman who drives a truck.
Truck driver, great. Not for the Canadians, I'm sure.
No, but there we are. What an amazing achievement. Woman drives truck.
She married at the age of 17 as mother of 4 picking. What?
I don't know. Trying to read BBC Pigeon is a fun.
I want to
endeavor.
decipher it.
There's no Billie Eilish. Your queen is not here.
I'm disappointed.
Sorry to say. But anyway, the point being, I'm not going to talk even about this kind of garbage, which, regardless of the BBC Pigeon, the 100 women most influential list is also garbage. Let's be honest. I want to talk about absolute, crystallized, beautiful reasons to hate journos, such as the BBC's article about black women most likely to die in medieval London from the plague.
All one of them.
Yes.
So this is very much like Hillary Clinton saying the first victims of war are women
Yes.
because they're the widows. And it's like, okay, who's dying for them to be widows? Right, gotcha. They're wives.
I don't know. Who knows? In fact, they've come to tell us exactly how many black women were the real victims of the plague. Everyone else was not a real victim, of course. It's 8. Apparently, there were 8 black women in all of medieval England.
Yeah, but is this like the reverse of the 3/5 rule where they were worth far more than every other native white peasant at the time?
No. We're not America.
I think there was an editor mistake here. The editor didn't see it. They wanted to write to really die in medieval London.
Sorry, what do you mean? Most likely to really die?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the author wanted to write.
Well, sadly, she ended up writing this piece of crap. And as you can see here, this is just gold. Black women of African descent were more likely to die of medieval plague in London. Academics from the Museum of London have found.
Is there a BBC Pigeon version of this?
Oh, God, I did look. I couldn't find it. The study was the first archaeological exploration, showing how racism influenced a person's risk of death from the plague. Because the plague, George Floyd us.
Those fleas in little clan hoods.
Maybe the rats. The likelihood of dying from the plague was amongst highest of those who already faced significant hardship, including exposure to famines that hit England during this time.
Sources, Netflix.
Yeah. What I do love implicit in that statement is the idea that there was an ethnic group of Black Britons in the 1300s who lived in London. And man, they couldn't catch a break. Brother was being kept down by the king's men.
They could catch a plague, though.
They apparently they could. And they say in here that, of course, those suffering hardship were the ones most affected. So even in the 1300s, apparently the black population of London were underachieving. Very sad to hear. They say it arrived in London, and they give us the history of the plague, which, do I need to read? People not know about the plague? I feel like people know about the
It
plague.
has something to do with rats, didn't it?
It was fleas on the back of rats.
Fleas
Yeah.
on the rats. Or it was God. Either one.
I like that one.
I think the government had a bad mandate to ban cats. That's why there was a plague.
15th century Anthony Fauci.
But they say in here that half of London's population died, and of course, black women most affected, as you could probably tell, because the research concluded that higher death rates were amongst people of colour, as they were called in ye olde England.
Wait, so 8 means compared to half of...
Half of London. Half of London dies, 8 black women die. I can't believe black
How
women.
will we go on?
Yeah, it's literally. Yeah. They say in here that those of black African descent were those most affected from the devastating effects of, quote, pre-modern structural racism in the medieval world. They don't name any of that.
That's so chronically stupid, I actually don't have anything to say.
No, I don't know what you do with this. I mean, I can't really fathom as to why they wrote this.
I want to do what Douglas did when he keeps getting invited on Piers Morgan's show to talk about reparations and just say, I'm just tired of this. You're clearly just unserious, unintelligent grifters who are unfortunately being paid with license fee money to produce race propaganda nonsense. Just go away.
I want to find the name. Who is responsible for this? There is no
Scroll
name
up.
listed.
Yeah.
For some reason, this article doesn't get a name listed as to who I can bully on
such
Twitter.
crucial research. Why would you not want to associate yourself?
Well, they have got someone who you can, I suppose, talk to. If
It's communistic. It's the team who wrote the article.
Well, Dr. Rebecca Redfern of the Museum of London, she's come out to say that, quote, we have no primary written sources from people of colour, because that phrase doesn't exist, shut up, and those of black African descent during the plague.
It's a racism source. I made it up.
Well, I have no evidence, but,
There's the man doing all the racism, apparently.
yeah. She says, even though she has no evidence, archaeological evidence, so their research, is essential to understanding more about the lives and experiences of people of colour. The racism is in their bones, and we shall find it.
So literal offence archaeology.
Yeah. And what's weird about this is the one people jumped on, the BBC outlet that reported this here, as you can see, this piece of crap. I'm just highlighting it because I have utter contempt for this entire website and everyone associated. But they didn't actually include a lot of info. For some reason, The Guardian actually had more info because...
I like how they have a bubonic plague tag. Is that just reporting on San Francisco?
I don't know. I want to see now. What's in here? Ancient Britons built Stonehenge and then vanished. Okay. All right. Not as cool. But back to the offense archaeology, as you rightly say. They say in here, the results reveal, 9, not 8, was worse than I thought. 9 victims.
Well, that's where the disproportionality claim comes from.
They're of African heritage, it seems. We proved it by looking at their bones. Whilst 40 seem to have been of white, European, and Asian ancestry. Not sure how many Asians were in medieval England. I'm guessing that these researchers aren't the serious of people, so I'm not sure I trust.
Is this the Harvard admissions team?
Yeah. They say there were 8 and 88, respectively, of those in plague and non-plague burials that they looked at. So they're arguing that London was about 9% black.
No,
it's 13% now. So I don't think it was 9% black, because that doesn't make sense. They say, whilst nothing specific is known about these individuals' lives, we have no evidence. The team say that many women of colour would have worked in domestic service and experienced race and sex-based discrimination.
All women worked in a form of domestic service. The household was the household was the economy. Only few tradesmen and guildmasters worked in the centre of the city.
But a white serf is more privileged than a black serf, even though they work in the same place in the same city at the same time doing the same work.
Job. Yeah.
We just know. We know why, because I've looked at their bones. She doesn't tell me how. That shows you anything, but whatever.
It's actually consulting runes.
It is amazing. They say here, the plague is portrayed as an indiscriminate killer, but we know it actually wasn't, said Dr. Redfern.
Oh, come on.
So they're full on saying the plague has a racist motive.
Yes. The plague literally joined the clan and is like, well, time to do my work. Dr. Onaika Nuba, a historian of the University of Nottingham and the author of Black Moors, about Africans in Tudor England. She says it remains a challenge to accept for many people that different ancestries and heritage were an established part of England's past. Quote, it's not a political matter, it's a matter of conjecture. It is actually evidential fact. England has always been ethnically diverse for thousands of years.
No, it hasn't. Woman who watched horrible histories once.
Well, it's worse than that. She did actually write a book. It's, as I mentioned, it's called Black Shoes. I've read it. If you want to go and find it.
I've seen this before. And David Olusoga has endorsed it. There you go.
Yeah, because it's crap.
Yeah.
I read it in Amesbury's library, wonderful library, and I was flicking through, and I counted up the number of black individuals she could even list. And it's equivalent to a number of Zoroastrians that exist in Britain today. So if you've never met a Zoroastrian, it's sort of the same as being in medieval England and never meeting a black person. So I'm sure, well, there's quite a few of you, I imagine. There's only 4,000 Zoroastrians.
Don't speak ill of Ahura Mazda.
Of course, I wouldn't want to get the sun going on my back. But you can see for the cover here, she actually has an individual there with a trumpet, and we've spoken about him before. I love how he keeps coming up as an example. This is John Blake, who is literally famous for being black. That's his only achievement.
Many such cases.
There is. People who don't know, he turned up to England, and the king was just like, hang on a minute, that's different, and recruited him to play a trumpet because, oi, I've got one of them. Sincerely, that is his only role, because it is to show off that the king is worldly and knows all about the world. Why? He has black people in the court. You ever seen one of them? Well,
he attracts the most interesting characters just by being the king.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe that for all of these like Afrocentric movements, it was like the Anglo-Saxons was black, the Celts was black, London was black, trust me, bro. They have to always jump back to literally one guy in history whose only achievement is he was black.
Yeah, he's the totem of historical revisionism.
I mean, he is probably the most cited token man of all time at this point. And sincerely, that was his job. He got paid well for it. Got a nice lifestyle out of it. I'm not blaming him. Go for it. But you may have noticed this is very much the same narrative they had about COVID. They mentioned COVID earlier.
Yes.
Just as COVID stalks the land today, killing black people because it is a racist.
George Floyd did have COVID.
Yes. If George Floyd was a peasant, the plague would have come for him and killed him with its neck-biting powers. I mean, we've been over this before. Why is COVID killing people of color? For some reason, they've taken this off iPlayer. I don't know if people remember our segment on this. The reason being, because they asked Kemi Badenoch as to why black people were being killed by COVID. And she cited genetic differences and health differences and lifestyle differences. And then it just ends.
Yeah, because they were hate fans.
Yeah, they spend like a half an hour just being like, whoa, Jesus, there are lots of black people being killed. Is it because the NHS hates us? And then they ask Kemi, and Kemi goes, no, here's why. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
wrap it up.
Yeah. If you want to talk about
delete it from iPlayer.
If you want to talk about disproportionality, maybe obesity in the Caribbean community might be something worth addressing to keep them alive. No, again, racism apparently. All right then.
And the BBC are used to this. So I found this. This is a weird piece of work. So you can see here, the unspoken weight discrimination problem at work. Do you care? Does anyone care? What is this? This is just victim writing.
Yeah, I do if my workplace is filled with unpleasant-looking fat people.
That's true. But you can see this goes on, because if I keep scrolling, there's that crap article. Why layoff hit workers of color so hard? Okay, again, more victim writing. There's another one. Did Me Too die with Gen Z in the workplace? Who cares, literally? Discrimination, pushing LGBT... What is this? And it just keeps going. Like, I'm just going to keep scrolling. You see there's article after article, and every single one of these pieces of crap is the same thing, where it's just, did you know minorities most affected? Like, okay, BBC, this is literally all you produce at this point. Oh, that was at least,
what's
at least about accentism.
What's quite funny for the BBC to produce, because I saw it at the bottom of the page. Did you read their review of their own Doctor Who special?
Did they say it was great?
They said it was crap. They said, there's a direct quote, actually, that says, this has just become a vehicle for capital T, capital M, the message. So someone at the BBC, which is a critical drinker.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
But this is where we're going to end it off. Because as you can see, I mean, journos just deserve hatred for what they've done, which is no work. And you got paid. You bastard. But instead, I want to end this off with just the fact that it's also just wrong. This is the bit that eludes me, because no matter how much this blew up, as you can see, I think it's got like 1 million views or something now, almost. As you can see there. If you actually go to the source, Museum of London, here you are. This is Dr. Redfern over here from earlier. She actually just says that, no, nothing I said was true, because she goes on to write, as you can read here, in archaeology, social inequalities can be identified in many different ways, and one way is how people are buried. When we looked at how skeletons were buried in East Smithfield, we found that none of the plague victims with black, African, or mixed heritage had been maltreated, as you might expect to see in a population group that might have suffered discrimination.
So it wasn't a pauper's grave, basically. It was just a regular gravesite.
It's not even that. She's just made the point there that none of the black people we found in the past ever suffered discrimination. There was no evidence on their corpses. Even though I just spent ages telling you about how them dying of plague is racism. It's just bollocks. She says, we could see that in their bodies, they were placed in the graves with care and respect, as we can be seen in the image. What exactly this might have meant requires further research.
The last line is there very revealing. It's, oh damn, this undermines our entire narrative. Look for the next excuse.
Yeah, we looked at the corpses, as you can see here. We found out that those of mixed ancestry were treated with respect. There was no evidence in their bodies of any kind of unusual treatment or punishment or any damages that may have resulted from racism. But trust me, these people here were victims of medieval racism against the black race.
This looks like the music video for Kanye West's Famous, and I can't unsee it.
True. But that's the worst part, which is even the individuals here who wrote this piece of crap, the scientists you can't trust, frankly. She's been the senior curator of archaeology at the Museum of London for 2 years now, this individual. So it's good woman, good hands. But they wrote themselves that none of this was to do with racism. And the Guardian and the BBC just picked up and went,
Racism.
yeah, just like COVID. COVID 2, the plague. If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium videos, this one on a history of British censorship. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.